What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hype Mind. I'm Bear, and I'm here with a reality check with a reminder because there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there who have suffered hardship in life. They've been dealt bad hands. They've had cards that weren't favorable, what have you, right? I know a lot of people like that. I've heard a lot of stories. I've honestly been blessed with the opportunity to meet people even briefly with stuff like that. This is where I would point you towards Sarah's story, a video Daniel and I made earlier on, right? Wonderful lady who went through a lot of hardship, um, and then kind of made it worse for herself, and then turned things around. Um, and and thank God she's doing better, right? And so that's the reality. That's the reality check I'm bringing to you is there's a lot of people out there who, like I said, have not had easy lives. I know people who've lost their parents. I know people who've lost their whole families. I know people who have dealt with other people with addictions, people who have their own addictions, situations where you're inclined to feel bad for them, and that for the very longest time was me. I felt very bad for a lot of people, right? And that's not to say I pitied them, right? It's not to say because that's not the case. I didn't invite them into my life because I pitied them. Um, it was that I saw potential. But here's the thing: is you can't get hooked on potential, right? One of my favorite coaches always said, many times as humans, we get caught on other people's potential. That's what we see is other people's potential, and we sell ourselves that story. We're like, this is who they could be. So what am I getting at? You gotta let people go. Sometimes you gotta let people go, right? Every every wise person says this. Every successful person says this. Look at your friend group. Daniel and I talked about this before in the past, right? So this is really, like I said, a reminder. But I could name 100 different people who've said this, and all you've got to do is Google it. You'll see it, right? But you've got to look at your friend group. You've got to look at the people you're hanging out with. You've got to look at the people you're letting into your life, because the people who you surround yourself with, that's who you're going to become like, right? And that's a very, very hard truth to accept. It's a very hard thing to look and face. Very difficult fact. Very big pill to swallow. But that's the fact right there. The people you surround yourself with, and the more you surround yourself with those specific people, the more you become like them. That's who you're going to become like, right? So I share this because I can come from a place of empathy and understanding, knowing it's not easy to do that. I know a lot of people in my past who I loved. I really cared about them. They were important people to me. Um, had a lot of great memories with them, right? But there is a but, and there's a different side to the story too. The reality is, I wasn't being careful about who I surrounded myself with. You know, they weren't necessarily bad people, but you don't have to be a bad person to make mistakes. Good people make mistakes, right? The difference is, are you getting up off of your butt and correcting them? Are you inspiring your friends to do the right thing, right? One of the things I've seen a lot of times in the past, um, not so much from my own friend groups, but if I was in other settings where I'd just met people, I'd see a lot of situations where people would encourage their friends to do the wrong thing, Their friend would be like, I think that girl's hitting on me. Oh, dude, you should totally go get with her. Like go flirt, go see what happens. Well, she's got a boyfriend. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. From the perspective, from the understanding of being a uh, desiring to be the best possible masculine figure you can be. That's not noble. That's not to act with integrity. That's not to act with genuine love. That's not to act with, selfless desires or actions. Um, so stuff like that. So you got to look at your friend group. You got to look at the people you hang out with, right? You might have known them your whole life. It may be that you and them have been very vulnerable with each other. Like that's the case with your best friend, right? Your best friend knows everything about you, and you know everything about them, right? Including their very worst times, the very biggest struggles they've gone through, right? But here's the thing: is you have to look at the actions. It doesn't matter how long you've known someone, how long you've been friends with them, how close you are, or the memories you guys have shared, right? You can always cherish those memories, but doesn't mean you should be continuing to make them. Because when you look at their actions, a lot of times you see they did pressure you to do things that you shouldn't do. They did influence you to do things you shouldn't do. They didn't pick themselves up, and they didn't let you pick them up to correct their lives. They constantly live in bad habits and turn a blind eye to it. They constantly encourage you to do the same thing. So that's the reminder, because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to lose track and to think, well, this person's really important because I've known them forever and because I can be vulnerable with them, right? Which is a big word. It's to be able to be vulnerable with someone. Um, it's tough. It's really tough. Um, you know, to be vulnerable is to open the door. Um, it's basically a weakness, right? It's to put bullets in another person's gun and hope they don't use them. Um, that's the way I've always seen it, right? And so obviously you value that because as a human being you long for connection, and in that connection you long to be able to be vulnerable. And so when you have that, you don't want to let that go, right? But like I said, you got to look at your friends. You got to look at the people you associate with. Um, and I am sharing this with you because I know the struggle that's involved. You know, I I've been there. I've had to let a lot of people go who I didn't want to let go, um, because they were important, because I had great memories with them, because I had great connection with them. Um, but at the end of the day, you have to be a little bit. You could call it selfish, but I don't really think it's selfish so much as more um, more self-respecting. And you have to look at your goals. Where are you trying to go, right? Because you should be trying to go somewhere good. You should be aiming at the highest possible good you could possibly imagine. You personally, that should be your goal, right? Um, to live more virtuously, to encompass characteristics of that. Like personally, I would want to be someone who is seen as reliable and honest, and who has integrity, and who keeps his word, and who loves others, and who respects himself and is respected and respects others. Um, so you have to align yourself with people who are doing the same thing in their life or seeking the same thing. And a lot of times, that's not the friend group you currently have. A lot of times, the friend group you currently have are the fun people, the people who don't mind blowing off responsibilities in life to relax, which relaxing is important, but you know, how often are you doing it? Are you doing it in good company? Um, would these people really have your back? That was something I heard that really put a different perspective in my mind. This guy said, you know, all five of my friends, if people approached us in the street to fight, would stand up with me to them. You know, he said none of them would run. None of them would crack. None of them would sell me out. Um, you know, and maybe he says that because of real experience of having seen that from his friends, or maybe he says that because he simply trusts them like that, right? But I know a lot of people that in the past I'd associated with that they wouldn't have. You know, they would have run, they would have sold you out. You know, it's it's very in line with this idea. Um, really fun idea, fun way to think about it. Uh, Sean Stevenson, I think, right? I think that's his name. Intelligent guy, psychologist. Great work, right? Talks about A, B, and C friends, right? Basically, different levels of friends, you know, and how the C friends are the people who they're there in your life, but they're really, you know, you're not that close with them because they're kind of just there to use you. And then the B friends who are good, a little more closer, you know, they might not betray you so much, but they haven't really done the work to be better friends, right? And the A friends who you would trust your life with, you know, and that's the thing is you want to surround yourself with A class people, right? With people who you can trust your life with people who are shooting for the same goals, and those same goals are noble goals, who are striving to be successful in as many areas of their life as they can be, and motivating you to do the same, and seeking your help on how they can become better, and always doing their best to give their help to you when you need it, or even when you don't want to hear it, so that you can be better. And so ultimately, that's where you want to be. Those are the people you want to be around. So check yourself. You know, they always say check yourself before you wreck yourself. And like, there's so many cliche um, phrases out there where because they're cliche, people overlook them, they laugh them off, they don't think they think they're silly, you know, but like that's the real deal right there. Um, you say check yourself before you wreck yourself because when you don't, you basically demonstrate complacency, and complacency results um, in you know bad things happening. Uh, the complacent person suffers in some way or another eventually, right? So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Look at your friend groups. Be honest with yourself. You know what are your actual goals? Where are you trying to go? And are the people you're hanging out with the most or at all helping you get there? Do they even want you to get there? Right? Everybody knows the crab in the barrel thing. None of the other crabs want the strongest crab to crawl out of the barrel. They all pull them down, right? So there's your reality check for today. Who are you hanging out with? What are your goals? Are they helping you get there? Right? Because sharing this with you, like I mentioned in the beginning, I really do come from a place of understanding of um, being able to relate to the difficulty of letting people go who aren't benefiting you, right? Even though you know, because of the fact that you've known them forever, you care about them, you love them, you see their potential, you know, you can empathize with them for their hardships in life because they've been vulnerable with you in sharing them, right? So you think, ah, you know, they need someone like me in their life. You know, they need someone who understands where they've been and cares. You know, it's like that's not always the case. Sometimes you have to let those people go too. You have to let them take their own path, learn their own lessons, and you don't have to be there. Especially despite what they say, their actions show that they don't care if you're there or not, right? That's That's the key to life right there. Actions always speak louder than words. So from all of us here at the Hive Mind, thanks for watching. If you got something out of this, please like and subscribe. It helps us out so we can keep helping you out. And peace. Peace, peace, peace.